Hi everyone and welcome back to the Colour Cave where we like to play with art stuff. My name is Jem and I'm really excited for today's edition of Tales from the City Amongst the Stars because we are going to do some spangly paintwork. So that is of course the actual technical description. Sleeves up a bit here. Yeah, we're going to be using Julia Kay's watercolour paints here, which you all know I'm a huge fan of. And there's great discussions about the spangly bits, and honestly, the hardest part of today's video is deciding what colours to use. I've decided to go with a very silvery silver for the stars here. I will be putting some stars in the sky, but I'll be doing that in white. So these ones are going to be metallic. So the colours that I have picked for the stars is Ezerin, which is this one here. So if I just kind of like flap my tin lid about there, you can see it is super metallic. So it was either going to be between that one or Luna. And Luna Luna is this pan here, so this one here. This is my super spangly fancy paint tin. So we're going to start with that. Now there's really two ways I could tackle this here. I could either do it with a water brush and keep it quite concentrated, or we can use a tiny paintbrush. Because we are working in quite small areas, I have opted for the weenie paintbrush route. I have got one of the trusty Sea White synthetic brushes. This is a size 0, so this is weenie. So what we need to do is we need to wet our paint first. So I'm just going to take it out the palette to do this because I don't really want every other paint in the set getting wet as well. So I've got Jock padding about here. I'm sure you heard him battering about a bit there. Jock is doing really well with his skin. We've been to the vets and he has gotten his medication which has cleared up his skin. It's like miracle stuff, honestly. If he has to be on it till the day he dies, I'm happy to pay the money because he's much happier. However, he has got a really upset stomach. And Jock is not a dog that picks things up or eats things off the ground. That's Pip's job. Just to interject here, I'm using my little Derwent Spritzer spray and I'm just giving a couple of scooshes here on this wee palette, and I'm going to let that sit to let the metallic pigment activate. The reason I do that is it mixes in much better, so when you're actually putting it onto your artwork, you get a better pigment load of the metallic part, because you can get the chance to mix it in. So I'll leave that sit for a minute. Yeah, so I've got no idea what's going on with Jock. This is day 3, so we didn't realise he actually had that much of an upset stomach though, so I kind of like fed him normal food last night and that didn't go well. So we're on a very strict bland diet for a couple of days to see if that helps, and if not, we'll be going back to the vets. So he's kind of at that stage this morning where he's been outside, he's been to the bathroom, which was it's painful to watch, but he's kind of like struggling to find a place to put himself. I think he's maybe got a bit of a sore stomach, but he seems to be settling down now, so I might actually get on and film the video now. I've got an extra light on over here. I was just wanting to see if this would help show the metallic aspects. So I'm going to do the little dots as well, so this should be fairly straightforward. Heard myself say that a million times. Now the thing is with these types of shimmery paints, they don't actually look like much until they're properly dry. So don't panic if they look a bit dull or, you know, a bit lackluster. When you start waggling the page about, as you know I'm so fond of doing, that's when it really comes into its own. So the other thing I love about using shimmery paints, now I've always been a fan of a shimmery accent from way back at the beginning, and it started with silver and gold gel pens for me, and then I realised that I don't get on well with gel pens at all. I don't know why, I don't know. So then I started looking for paints, and weirdly I got the Gansai Tambi Starry Colours set in a scroller box, and that was one I think it was actually my very first scroller box. It kind of just snowballed from there, and then this mad Swedish person started chatting to me, and I found out she made paint, and here we are. Yeah, so one of the things I really like about using metallic paint is if you do go over the lines a little bit, you can just grab a fine liner and you can go back over the line work if you want it shown, or you can kind of like dull it down by going over it deliberately. And the accuracy of this just comes with practice. That's fairly neat. There's a wee tiny bit here where I've kind of gone over the lines. The rest of them are more or less inside the lines. That's just practice, it's nothing else, guys. But that's just exactly where I wanted that to be. They're not going to show up as well, obviously, against the grey background, but it's more for the benefit of the ones further down here. So I'm just going to keep going. I've got a cup of tea somewhere this morning as well. I'm going to the physiotherapist today after I've finished here. And this is why I'm filming before and not after, because I'm absolutely useless after I've been to the physio. I just while I was having a little sip of my tea there, I was just checking on Julia's Etsy store, and you can buy Esserin, this colour that I'm using, from her over at her Etsy shop. I do not have it in the stash shop, it's not a colour I stock. We will be building the colour selection up here at the stash shop gradually. This is not one that I have, but if you really want this colour, you can head to Julia's Etsy shop. The link straight there is down in the description. It'll be the first link under the bump where I talk about what we're actually doing in the video, and that'll take you straight over. Say the stock of colours that we've got in the stash shop, the link for that's also in the description, by the way, if you want to go and do a bit of shopping, even if it's just a bit of window shopping. The colours that we've got are quite limited just now, but we will be introducing new colours every month until we are matching up with the inventory in Julia's store. The idea behind it was that basically when the UK, which includes Scotland obviously, when the UK left the EU, thanks guys, it caused us all sorts of problems because we're not part of the EU free market now. When we order stuff from inside the EU, the postage costs are gone through the roof, and the parcels flag for customs a lot more, and it works the other way as well. It's really expensive for people to buy from the UK if they're in the EU compared to what it used to be, and it's a hassle, it's a rigmarole. So the idea behind stocking Julia's paints was to allow everyone in the UK and also customers in the US and Canada as well. There seems to be this misconception that it's really expensive to send a parcel to the States. It's not. We've only got a body of water between us. And I do ship from the stash shop regularly to the States and Canada. So if you're interested in Julia's paints, because they're small and light, the UK postal system works on weight and size. And these are about as small and as light as you can get. Someone had asked under, I think it was the actual video that I did introducing Julia's paints, and they asked about shipping. And just as the example that I gave there was, you could have up to 6 pans of Julia's paints shipped to the States for $6 or $7, and that's just standard postage. I send stuff standard mail all the time to Canada and the US, and if you wanted it tracked, if you're feeling a wee bit paranoid, it would be about $12. That's American dollars, not Canadian dollars, guys. So it's not a huge amount of money. Understand if you're going to buy 6 pans of Julia's paints, I think it's a bit expensive, but that was just an example, so don't be put off. Let's see if it's something you do fancy and you are in America or Canada. Please, even if you want to drop me an email, I'm quite happy to answer any questions that you've got. But yeah, I have a lot of customers. In fact, now I've got quite a lot of regular customers in the US and Canada as well. I think in the 2.5 years that the shop's been open, I think I've lost 1 parcel to Canada and 1 to the States. So that's pretty good. I've actually lost more parcels to Ireland than anything else. And Ireland's literally like spitting distance. I could walk there and swim over. So yeah, if you fancy it, don't be put off just because you're in America or Canada. You're allowed Julia's paints too. I just get so much joy out of Julia's paints because I can use her palette of flat colours, which is not the one obviously it's the spangly palette I've got today. You can use her palette of flat colours if you want to do some proper painting, if you want to do some serious watercolour painting. She does have a lovely selection of colours. But if you just want to put your fun pants on, then or even if you just like accents and colouring books like me, then she's got paint for every job kind of thing. So yeah, it's really nice to have that option, and it is. It's so much fun, like really relaxed fun though. Because we're using so little water as well, because Julia's paints are like mega pigmented, and you can use them in quite a concentrated form, then you're going to experience like the minimum of buckling with stuff like this, because obviously you're only putting it on tiny little places on the page. You can see that pigment moving about in there like, oh, it is. Num, 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 num. So you can see the wee size 0 brush are really handy for stuff like this. I love a weenie brush. I love a weenie paintbrush. I love a weenie fine liner as well. The theory behind this is I've spoken to quite a few people about this. I have to kind of like sound things out with people for my own benefit. And well, everyone seems to agree so far that the reason that I seem to like really fine nibs on things comes because obviously my primary and preferred medium is pencil. And obviously, we like to use the pointy points, so that makes sense. Weirdly though, see if I'm painting in acrylic or oil. Not that I've done a lot of painting in oil. If I am though, I like to be on big massive canvases with big brushes and no pencils at all. So go figure that one out. My phone just ding ding there. It was a text message noise and it's Julia. She must, her ears must be burning this morning. There we go. I've messaged her back and asked her if her ears are burning and taken a picture of what we're doing right now. I don't know if Julia's familiar with that turn of phrase. I think she is. Her English is really good. I did learn some Swedish words when I was over. Julia gave me a Swedish bingo card. So all the things in the squares were in Swedish. And that's to make me learn Swedish. And it's sort of very stereotypical, like tongue-in-cheek things like trees because because Sweden is covered in trees. She just sent me back an emoji face. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, so there was quite a few interesting things on that, like trees and cheese is the other one. We have this standing joke. The amount of cheese that Swedish people consume is absolutely bananas. I can't get over it at all. And they buy like full wheels of cheese, and Julie's like, "Yeah, that'd last like a week and a half." I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's protein." It's like, "Yeah, it's also fat." Anyway, this is very funny indeed. So I can't say I'm going to be fluent in Swedish anytime soon. I can tell you that for certainty, guys. Swedish is a horrible language to learn. And it's nice to pick up a few words. I think by the next time I go over, I would like to be able to navigate my way. Like if I'm going to purchase something in a shop, have the confidence to go up and ask, where something is or how much something is. I'd like to be able to do that. So a little bit of time though. Half the problem, I think, is like when I see words in Swedish, I want to pronounce them the way they would be pronounced in German, because that's like the closest language that I have that I understand. And Swedish really isn't like German at all. There's words that look similar, they're just not pronounced the same because the Swedes have got like extra letters in their alphabet and stuff because they're fancy. So that's going to take a bit of work, but we'll get there. This paintbrush almost fits perfectly inside those little circles. Like I couldn't have asked for a better fit, really. Yeah, these paintbrushes also in the stash shop as well. They're super cheap. These are like £1. They're dirt cheap. And I did say recently as well, the original synthetic brush that I had that I got, I think it was probably in a scroller box, I would imagine. So that was the very first one. That brush has been absolutely used to death, and it's only now that I've decided to replace it because the bristles are starting to get a bit tired. So basically I got like 2 and a bit years out that paintbrush, probably more actually if I was to look back. So you definitely get value for money with them as well. I just like them because they're flexible. You can use them with gouache. I really like using them with gouache. They cope okay with watercolour as well. I wouldn't say they're absolutely, fantastic for washes. But they'll do a job for you, no problem. And they're stiff enough to be able to use with acrylic paint as well. So they're pretty good all-rounders for the price of them. I get on really well with cheap brushes though. I also get on really well with stiffer brushes, and my conclusion with that is just because I struggle to, with pressure in my hand, I find it difficult to gauge how hard I'm pressing sometimes. I think the fact that the bristles on the synthetic brushes are just that little bit more rigid than traditional hair, I think that works in my favour. I'm all for these brushes. They do flat ones as well. I think we've only got a 6 and a 12 in the shop if you like a flat brush. They don't seem to do filberts either, I don't think. I must look at that actually. I'll check that out because I'm quite a fan of a filbert brush as well now, especially for gouache. But yeah, there's rounds and flats, and we stock both in the stash shop. In the rounds though, we do have all the sizes. Okay, we're nearly there now. I was thinking about the rainbows. I've also got the rest of the unicorn's eyes. I didn't actually talk about this in the last video. All I did was go in with a black fine liner and fill in. It was actually dark grey. It wasn't black. Went in with a dark fine liner and filled in the eyes, and I left a tiny white highlight. And I did that for both their eyes, and also filled in their nostrils as well. I didn't want to use black in the nostrils because I just think it looks kind of like, like the abyss. I find it just a little bit less harsh to use a dark grey instead. So that was it. I meant to talk about that last time. I don't know what I'm going to do about the eye colour. Again, if you're talking about horses, they've usually got brown eyes, very pretty brown eyes. But I don't know. Maybe we'll stray from the norm, seeing as we're dealing with unicorns. I've mentioned this before, where I live now, since I've moved, there is a stables and livery yard here, and it's run by one of our neighbours, so there's always new faces arriving, and there's 2 horses that have been put in a paddock together right next to Mr. Jem's office, which is a separate building from the cave. They're super friendly. See if they see anyone coming anywhere near the paddock in a vehicle or on foot, they come straight over. They're just really, really friendly horses. And I mean, I was a complete stranger with 2 collies, and they both were coming over and trying to like nuzzle into me, and they wanted their noses stroked and stuff, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. So I don't know their names or anything yet. They're obviously new residents, but the next time I'm speaking to my neighbour, I will ask her or her partner and we'll find out who they are and what their names are. Because I really want to take some photographs just for reference photos, for drawing, because horses are not something that I draw very often, and I would like to, especially now that I've got the opportunity. But I will ask permission, because obviously they're not her horses either. She's looking after them. They're in a livery, so best to ask permission before we do these things. It just means as well, if I have a, even just a sort of rough drawing that turns out well, it means I can give a copy to the owner. It's always nice to do that. I like doing that sometimes. I had a friend with a wonky dog called Rapunzel, and I used Rapunzel because Rapunzel was in a car accident and her face is a little bit wonky, but that's why we love her. And her owner allowed me to take pictures to use, to try something different. It's because it's, the automatic is to draw a relatively symmetrical dog, and Rapunzel's face is not symmetrical. So I just said, look, it's not for anything in particular, I'm not going to sell it on, it's just for like a bit of practice. And I ended up drawing quite a half decent graphite. I mean, it wasn't like a full finished drawing or anything, but a nice sort of graphite sketch. And it kind of just caught her character, so I managed to make a half decent photocopy. And I just put it in a wee frame, and it was only like A6, it wasn't big or anything. And I just gave it to her owner, and she was really pleased with it. I was like, well, that's nice. So, same thing with the horses, maybe. But there's some characters round there at the stables. I still can't get over the wee tiny pony that only goes up to my bum. Like, he's so small. He's super cute, though. Right, okay, that's us finished the stars. So just at a first glance, I mean, they don't look particularly spectacularly like, yeah, whatever, stars. But if I zoom this out a wee bit, we start tilting this about a bit, all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, hang on a minute then. Okay, that's pretty nice. Oh, I've missed one down here. Missed this last one here. And that's what I love about Julia's paints. That's what I love about all shimmery paints. It's not specifically restricted to Julia's paints, all spangly paints, because you catch them a certain line, you're just like, yeah, whatever. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, pretty. It's pretty. Okay, that's that part done. I've got silver on me. Right, okay, so the next thing I was deliberating on was what I was going to do. I need to do something about this unicorn's ear as well. It's far too pale in there. The other thing I was deliberating about is, do we coordinate horns and wings with the colour scheme of the animal, or do we do something a bit more sensible? So right, bear with me, here's my theory and my logic. I think the horns should all be the same colour on all of the unicorns, because when I think of horns on cows, they're all made from the same material, and they might have dark and light patches on them, but it's the same stuff. So I'm going to use one colour for all of the horns, and I'm going to match the wings to the actual unicorn. So the colour that I would like to use for the horns is Ude. And Ude, see, Swedish. Ude is this colour here, and it looks grey, but it's got a gold shimmer in the paint as well. So this is actually the paint down here, so it looks very, very gold. That's the one we're going to use for all the unicorn horns, and then we're going to pick separate colours for each set of wings. So just as I did before, I'm going to let that sit. This has glitter particles in it, so it's in your interest to let that sit as well. So while we're doing that, we'll pick the colours for the wings. So really, for our turquoise friend here, we either need something in turquoise or something in pink. I think if we pick pink, it'll be lost in the main, so we'll go turquoise, and we have a plethora. There's Ella, that has a very gentle sparkle to it, but I feel like it's more blue than turquoise. The other one I was kind of looking at was Friedolf, and Friedolf is turquoise and it's got a silver shimmer in it, but I don't know, the Ella looks quite pretty. Well, see, Frig's got green in it though. No, I think I'm going to go Friedolf. Okay, so let's see how Uda is doing. Okay, good. So this colour is available in the Stash shop. We do have this. So if you are outside the EU, you can buy Uda from the Stash shop, and if you are in the EU, you can go to Julia's Etsy store. Again, I'm just going to check that she has it in stock, not telling you inaccurate information. Yes, Uda is available also. So yeah, there you go. Okay, let's go. Oh, I am so thankful for this little brush. I really am. It's doing a great job here. A unicorn horn. This is such a fun paint as well. It looks really obnoxious in the pan, but the end result painted is actually a lot more delicate. It does just look as if someone's chucked a tub of cheap glitter into one of Julia's pans of paint when it's in the pan, but no, it's a bit classier than that. It's actually one of my favourite colours. I think it's just because it is so subtle. What I think I'm going to do as well, once this is dry, maybe at the end, I might put a white highlight on the horns, on each section. I might even outline these horns in white so that they look a bit more magical. Okay, so we'll let that dry off. Just clean my brush off a wee bit here. Right, okay. This is the joys of having your own swatches. These are just stuck in the tin with blue tack. I think Iris is probably a pretty good match. Friedolf's a lot sparklier though. Yeah, I kind of want I'm going to go Friedolf. For our other pony, on that logic, we kind of want a gold or a yellow colour, and this is kind of where we're going to fall down a little bit. I think maybe Lucia would be a good one for the wings, and again, Lucia is... see if I can get this to focus. Come on, autofocus, you can do it. Yeah! Okay, so you can see Lucia is super shimmery, so I think we'll go for that one. This is exciting, guys, like, you're going to like this a lot. In the next video, I'm jumping ahead already, I'm going to finish off these unicorns, so we're going to concentrate on this one, but I'll also get literally the tail end of these two done as well. And then, with your apparent approval, the following video will be a live stream, and we'll work away on these clouds and the rest of the stars, etc. And just have a bit more of a relaxed ending to this. Some of you seemed quite keen on the live stream idea, which is nice. There's a few comments as well, and some of you said although you won't catch it live, it's something that you will have on in the background when you colour, because it's a bit longer. Obviously, being a live stream tends to be a couple of hours rather than maybe half an hour, 45 minutes. So do you know what? I'm really glad to do that. It's a nice change of pace as well, especially when it's different. If I'm going through different techniques, I think the video format works better. But when you're doing the same stuff, but you still want to interact and kind of get on with the page, it's nice to be able to do it in that sort of live stream, because I know somebody will turn up. Even though it's going to be a Thursday afternoon, I'm pretty sure there'll be some of you that turn up. Okay, we're going to go for it. We're going to start with the Friedolf. I'm needing to fill up my squisher. My squisher's nearly empty. I need to watch time here as well, so I'm not late for the physiotherapist. She's lovely as well. Her name's Norma. And Norma's a sweetheart. She's, from what I gathered, she's been a physiotherapist her entire life, and she's very, very enthusiastic about it. So I ended up getting acupuncture last week, which I've had a lot of things done to me. Acupuncture's not one of them. And it seems to have really helped my arm. It's actually my neck that's sore, but I was getting really bad pains down my shoulder and onto the top of my arm, really similar to how your arm feels after you get a COVID jab. You feel as if someone's like absolutely knocked you a cracker in the arm, as if you've got a dead arm. And that has more or less disappeared, so yeah, big up for Norma. Right, okay, so let's see what we can do here. I'm going to try and be logical about this. Right, let's get zoomed in a bit for a kicker. And I'm going to try and do the sensible parts first. I could be here for so this is going to be a long process. Let's see how we go here, because there's lots of spaces. There's lots of weeny bits. We just going to have to be patient here. I'm actually going to alternate and do this in sections so that we so that they don't merge into each other, and it's just so we can keep the line work clean. Because obviously if I go wet there, it's just going to blob in together. It's going to want to join together, and I want to kind of avoid that for now. So we'll do alternate sections just now. It is really cold this morning. I'm sitting here, I've got the heating on. It is quite early in the morning, it's not even 9 o'clock yet. And I do have the heating on. And the tops of my legs are absolutely freezing. I think it's almost time to start wearing woolly hats again. Most of you know I'm a huge fan of a good hat. Definitely getting there. We are having a bit of a cold snap. But it was due because, this time last week I literally went to the physiotherapist in a t-shirt because it was 20 degrees outside. So, not complaining. It's just happened rather quickly. It was really cold overnight. There really isn't much to do here apart from take your time. I would also recommend, if you don't have shimmery paint, if that's not something that's in your repertoire, again, glittery or metallic gel pens work really well, and they are a lot easier if your brush skills aren't maybe all that fabulous, or you're just not confident that you're able to do it consistently, because that was more of a thing for me. I knew I could do it, it was the consistency. So yeah, gel pens or fine tipped markers as well, as long as they don't soak through the page, they're really good alternatives for spangly watercolours. There's so many different ways to do things now, so many options. I've just had an idea. These ideas. I might alternate my paints. Pick another one. Because I really think that Frigate is a darker colour, or Ella, which is more blue. Again, like her shadow colour, that might look really cool as well. I don't necessarily need for there to be any logic to the colour of these wings either, if I'm going to use a different colour. Get my head out the road. I'm having to lean over quite far because this is quite small spaces. Try and keep my noggin out of the way. A blobby bit there. I don't know how many of you frequent Instagram, but Colour with Claire, our good friend Claire from down south from here, she's in the north of England, she had put up a petition to try and get a very well-loved colouring book back into print, and it was Sagnar by Emily Oldenberg, is that her surname? Oldenberg. Emily, I think it's Lidenhall or Leidenhall Odeberg. That was one of it was a very limited print run in the first place, I think, and everyone just loved it. It's a really sort of whimsical art style, and it's just a really well-loved book, and it was really difficult to get a hold of in the first place. Colour with Claire put up a petition to try and get it back in print, and that has been successful. I think the new one's got more images in it as well. It was never really a book that was in my style, honestly. It kind of puts me in mind it's not the same, and I don't like doing that, like lumping things into the same category, but the art style really reminds me of the books by Clara Markova, that's her, Magical Delights, and all those kind of books, the sort of slightly cutesy, verging into creepy gnomes and things with really like sort of cute friendly faces. Clara Markova, that's her. That's Emily's books, like they're like a cross between that and maybe even Tomislav Tomic. There's quite a lot of lines and patterns and things. Anyway, wildly popular. So apparently we're getting that again. Might get a copy for funsies, don't know, we'll see. It seems like such a long time ago that book was trendy, though. It just makes me realise how long. Now I know obviously Johanna Basford's kind of like got her 10-year anniversary thing going on, so the adult colouring thing's been around for a decade now. So obviously things like that are going to feel like they were a long time ago. I'm just my little Friedolf palette's getting a bit messy here. So I'm just taking a flat brush. This is this number 6 sea white brush I was talking about earlier, and I'm just going to flatten this out a little bit, make it a bit tidier. Because I was kind of like starting to dig holes in the palette there. Ooh, look at the shiny, all the shiny. So yeah, exciting times in the colouring world just now. Obviously we've got Johanna's new book coming out as well. I am super looking forward to that. I think it's exactly what a lot of us need. I know it's something that I need, and I think that I'll probably colour more, just because this book's designed to be like smaller images and snippets that you can colour in either one sitting or, you know, a short space of time. And that's the problem for me is always time. It's always time. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. I wish I had time for all these things. I'm having, at the moment, I'm having severe Lego withdrawal symptoms. I've very much scratched my gaming itch a lot recently in the very little spare time that I've had. I have started playing Last of Us. Yeah, and it's going as well as expected. There's like a severely traumatic moment like 5 minutes into the game and you're like, oh god, what am I doing? So yeah, that's going well. I'm quite happy with that. But yeah, I really want to play with some Lego and I just haven't had time at all. This is me now though. I'm finally catching up. Filming this video today, this is me caught up with filming after being away in Sweden and also being unwell. That combination was a bit unfortunate. But I mean, we've got a busy week this week, have we not, guys? I mean, obviously Sunday's video was late, so you had that on Monday. And then you were going to have the Whip Wednesday live stream yesterday and a video today. And for those of you that are tier 2 members, so Cool Cavers, and above, you've also got a live stream as well as a video on Sunday. Like, busy week. 100% committed to using the darker colour on the wings. Like, I'm up for it. Glitter everywhere. Today, I am mostly excited for carpet in my lounge. The ongoing saga of the lounge. Mr. Jem and I have worked our little socks off. We have a functional wood burning stove. And we have smooth plastered walls that are now a very attractive shade of sage green. And today we've also levelled the floor, sealed the cracks in the floor because it's a concrete floor. It's an old cottage, so concrete floor. I dare say it might have been stone at one point and they've concreted over the top of it, but from what we can see it's concrete. So yeah, the carpet guys are coming today. So what that means is later on, and I mean much later on, I've got this video to edit as well, much later on, Mr. Jem and I can start putting things back into the lounge that belong in the lounge, like the TV unit and the TV, a couple of lamps, Jock's spare bed. So we're busy, and that is going to be waiting for the sofa, because obviously I'm not filming this the day it comes out, but the day you see this, so on Thursday today, my sofa will finally be arriving. Now, Mr. Jem and I haven't had a sofa for 3 months. It's been over 3 months now. So we're really looking forward to having a comfy chair to sit on. And I think Pip is too. Okay, so I'm going to leave that to dry just for a little while there. It's looking pretty good. And I'm going to move on to down here. So I think just on the same basis that we're talking about, I'll pick out a darker colour. Maybe more like an orangey colour to go as the second colour for this set of wings. But I'm going to go ahead with the Lucia. This is a beautiful colour as well. This should be a much quicker colour to work with because there's no glitter pigment in it. It's just metallic shimmer. It mixes much better, so we shouldn't have to do quite as much manipulating in the pan. You know, we can just kind of like crack on here. Still got to try and get in all the nooks and crannies, which is fine. We'll manage. Oh, I don't know what happened there. Oh, try not to put my hand in the paint. Come on, Jem. Oh. So I'm deliberately, when I'm picking a second colour, I am deliberately picking a colour that is very close to the first. because I only want a subtle difference, almost as if it's movement in the feathers rather than them being a different colour. You know, the same way you would use a darker colour pencil to create shaded areas, kind of looking for the same idea, but just in kind of paint form. If I was any sort of person, I'd be mixing these with a bit of, you know, like indigo at the top so that there was a shadow. But I just want the spangliness to be spangly in all its spangly glory. So, you know, there's that. Spangle wins every time. This gold looks so good in next to the blue. So good. Oh, I went way over the line there. I don't know what happened there. I was talking about consistency earlier. Well, definitely going to have to do some tidying up with a fine liner. They are pretty awkward shapes, to be fair. You know, there's quite a lot of sort of jagged edges here. That's okay, though. Like, no disasters. No one's going to die. Just a bit of wobbly colour here and there, which we can cope with entirely. I was just about to look in my tea mug and see if I had any tea left, and then I thought better of it. Even if there is tea in the tea mug, it'll be stone cold by now, on account of it being not very warm in here. I've just realised that the window's open as well. Probably not helping. To be fair, I'm a person that prefers cold to heat. I say the problem is I've not had the correct acclimatisation process this time. It's been very abrupt. I don't know if it's going to stay like this, so I think it's to kind of, because this is like below average temperatures for us for this time of year, which is like we're sitting at like 2 degrees today. You know, it's proper cold outside. I think we have to go back up to like mid single figures, like 5, 6, and then during the day up to high single figures, so maybe highs of like 9, maybe 10 at a push would be normal for this time of year. 2, not so much. Let's take a wee zoom out here just before we carry on to the next stage. That's looking fairly good, because again, like I like this because at first glance it looks as if this is just coloured in pencil the same way as the unicorn's bodies are, and it's only when you start waggling that page about you're like, oh well, hang on a minute here. We got stuff going on, and look, we can see that shimmer in the horns now as well. It's when you see it really close up. Let's see if the camera's going to cope with this. Yeah, so if you look at that there, if I just start tilting that, you can see the shimmer, the nice little flecks of gold against the grey. It's absolutely perfect, and Friedolf looks beautiful. Look at that silver. Oh, I'm so happy. So happy. Easily pleased. Okay, so let's go back to about there. That's where we were. Right, so what I'm going to do now is grab my darker colours. First of all, let's talk about this horse. I keep going to call them horses. This unicorn here. I think this darker colour, which is Glimmer, this has a good shimmer in it as well. And I think there's going to be enough of a difference there for it to be different, but still look like maybe a shadow colour. So let's grab it. Oh, come out. Okay. Oh, I've put the name on the bottom of that one because Julia's sent me a pan without a name on it. Oh, that's funny. Right, I also am going to put Lucia back as well before I lose the plot completely. So all of the colours apart from Glimmer, which is the dark colour I'm going to use here, are available on Julia's Etsy store. Again, as I said, the link is in the description. The only colours available on the Stash Shop is Ude, which is the one that we've used for the horns. That's the one with the gold shimmer in it. And Ella, this is the dark colour I'm going to use for the wings. This is going to be coming to the Stash Shop really, really soon. Really pretty colour. And that's one of the colours we're going to be introducing over the next couple of months to build up the collection. So now you know. Ella is such a pretty colour. And when Julia and I were deciding what colours we're going to come over to the cave, that was one of the first ones I picked out because I was like, I have to have it because it's so pretty. It's quite fitting for winter time as well, obviously because it's a kind of sparkly, icy type colour. I thought that would be very, very seasonal, so I can't remember what month it's actually coming out, but it's, I think it's fairly soon. I think it's either next month. I think it's next month. Maybe no, I don't know, maybe December. Anyway, let's get to work with this. So you can see that the difference in the paint colours is very, very minimal. But that's kind of what we want, because I want them to look as if they're part of the same wing. Generally, the shimmer paints compared to the glitter paints are easier to work with because they're smoother. You know, you don't have that sort of bumpy obstacle of the glitter to contend with. In fact, easier is the wrong phrase, they're just quicker to work with. Again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to give these areas a chance to dry a wee bit before I start going crazy here. Oh, I've got far too much paint on my brush there. That was nearly a disaster. We don't want disasters at this stage, we're doing well. Okay, we'll give those a chance to dry off. You can see that's working really well. Like the theory has been executed and it is perfect. I was holding my breath for that bit there. Oh, the unicorns. I'm really enjoying the fact that we're doing this because it was Julia that gifted me this book. She just basically forgot that these books come out in English. So this is the Swedish version. The title on the front of the book's in Swedish. So I think it's really nice that we're using her paints in something that she's gifted to me. Because Julia is a very generous person. Like, she's a really generous person. She's very thoughtful as well. Looking good. So again, just as before, leave those to dry, and we can do a little bit of work with the glimmer here. This is more like a bronzy or like a coppery colour. Just make sure this is all dry, yep. So actually quite close to what we've been using. Again, that's really what I was hoping for, but just enough of a colour difference for it to be visible to the eye, obviously. And just look as if there's maybe a little bit of dimension in the feathers. I nearly said in the coat there, in the plumage. Does sound really weird talking about plumage when it's clearly horse-shaped, but you know. I don't normally deal in unicorns, to be fair. I know a lot of people do, but I'm not one of them. I actually think in the 5 years of having the channel, I think this is the first time, and I think I said this in a previous video, maybe back at the start, I think this is the first time I've actually coloured unicorns in 5 years. Yeah, I think as well, in the end video, maybe when we're in the live stream, I think I'll tidy up some of these edges. Some of them I'm okay with, and others I'm like, you can't leave that like that, Jem. Probably go round the wings with a fine liner. Now the key to making that work well, oh, I was just doing my own thing there, clearly. The key to making the fine liner work well is getting the correct width. So it pays to check out and test out. If you've got a handful of fine liners, which most of you do, have a go with a couple and find the one closest to the line width in the artwork. And that'll just make it look a little bit more authentic, you know, it's less likely to sort of stick out kind of thing. I feel as if I'm labouring now. This is becoming hard work, but we're nearly there. Quite often when I'm doing stuff like this, obviously for the video, I edit out quite large sections that are repetitive, so you won't have seen me colour most of this individually, but I always like to make people aware of how long things take, because I think as a beginner quite often there's frustration there because things take a lot longer than they appear to, you know, with someone that's maybe got a bit more experience. So obviously the more experienced you are with stuff like this, the quicker you can go without making a mistake. Talked about that already. The actual filming time at this juncture where we are right now is 1 hour and 21 minutes from the very start of the video. Although you're going to see this in a much shorter time frame, be aware that that's how long it's taken me. And out of that hour and 21, I would say probably a good 40 minutes of that, if not more, is taken up just by painting these wings. So I like to keep it real, and much as, you know, obviously having a video at 1 hour and a half long is not practical for YouTube. No one would watch it. I like to make people aware of these things as much as possible. Because we keep it real here in the cave. Okay, I'm going to leave that one to dry now, but that lets me come back up here with my Ella again. Which I just love this colour. And fill in my gaps up the top here because this is all dry now. Oh, I was way over the line there. Way over. Oh, shoot. Freaking unicorns. Whose idea was this? Oh, that's right. You guys. You guys wanted the unicorns. So I'm not taking any chances. We were saying as well that if his litter of pups, so that was the puppies that he had with Mist, which was my original dog and the whole reason that the colour cave exists, we still call them the puppies. If the puppies make it to their birthday next year, the puppies are going to be 10. I'm like, that's crazy. Absolutely crazy. So they outlived their mother by 3 years if they get to their birthdays, because Mist was only 7 when we had her put to sleep. Which was why it was very traumatic for me, because it was far too soon. Anyway, we don't need to talk about that, we're over it. And obviously we've got Pippi now as well. Right, I'm just going to finish off down here. I'm hoping that this is drying. Yeah, okay, we're good. Paint's drying quite quickly. The room is finally starting to heat up, ironically, just as I'm finishing up. Which, well, we kind of knew that was going to happen. That's what happens when you come in and start working really early in the morning. I have touched that though, made a mess there. I've got a hair stuck, I don't know if it's a... it's here, it's probably Pippi hair. Usually it is Pippi hair. The thing that, and this is the difference between her and Jock. Jock's hair is quite coarse and it's crinkly. But it's much thicker as well, so it's really easy to pick up and move it out the way. Pip's hair is very straight and it's much finer, and it tends to get into things and into places without you realising it, and then you find it later. It's not quite as bad as Jack Russell hair. When we had Woo, oh my goodness, Jack Russell hair is the worst, because it's short and fine. And Woo's was white, so yeah, you ended up like, say, especially see if you had like a say it was like a knitted jumper or jersey, you know, like a cardigan or something with quite a loose weave in it, you can guarantee that Woo's hair would be interwoven with your cardigan within minutes and never to be unwoven. That's just the way Jack Russell hair works. So I have to say, although I miss Woo dearly, Mr. Jem and I were talking about her last night actually, although I miss her dearly, I do not miss her hair in all of my clothes. The place that used to bug me the most, and it was when I had my old car, her hairs used to get stuck in the fibres of the upholstery, and no amount of hoovering would take that out. You literally had to go in with a pair of tweezers and try and unweave it, should such a thing exist. Down here. It was a pain in the ass. It's like, especially see if you had something dark on, you know, if you had like a black cardigan on, oh wow, or navy. It was a navy one I used to have, and it was just covered in Woo hair, like permanently. She was the best girl though. She was the coolest Jack Russell I've ever known. Because when I first met Mr. Jem, because Woo came as a package with Mr. Jem, and he told me he had a dog, I was like, oh yeah. Obviously being a huge lover of dogs, and then he told me he had a Jack Russell, and I kind of went, oh, that's nice. And then I met her and I was like, oh my god, she's awesome. And I want to keep her forever. And her and I got to be bestest buds. So, I mean, I was in her life for more than half of her life. So, you know, we got to become very good friends. And we were very good friends because it ended up that she was with me most of the time. And she still went out with Mr. Jem in the tractor and stuff occasionally. And then she kind of got too old for it. So, obviously she started to slow down. She was spending more time in the house. I tell you what as well, she was a brilliant little hot water bottle. See if you ever want a hot water bottle that doesn't get cold, get yourself a terrier, because they like to burrow. Obviously that's in their genetic imprint is to burrow, because they tend to go down rabbit holes and chase things. So they like being undercover, and we often wondered if we could actually breathe under there, you know. But they're really good if you're feeling poorly. Or even if you've just got a bit of a stiff back. You can grab yourself a Jack Russell or a Border Terrier or whatever and just get them under the covers with you. And they never go cold. It's great. She was the best fun though. No, we were just saying the other night that it's funny how Pip has picked up all of Woo's bad habits and not any of her good ones. And I said that to Mr. Jem, and Mr. Jem was like, Woo didn't have any good habits. It's like, well, yeah, no, she didn't really, did she? Mostly bad habits. She's funny. And there we go. Okay. That's us, we are all done. I'm just going to give this a second or two to dry off, and then I'll do some tilting about, I'll put my paints away. So there we go, total time was 1 hour and 33 minutes for those of you that are interested. Pop Glimmer back in. As I said, Glimmer, so that's the dark colour we were using in here. That's the only one that's not available at the moment. The rest of the paints you can get on Julia's Etsy store, and you can pick up Uda, and soon you'll be able to also pick up Ella in the Stash shop, but all the links are down below. And also, if you're interested in the Swedish lifestyle, dogs, or how people actually make watercolour paint, you can check out Julia's vlog, which is over on her YouTube channel. I will link that down in the description also for anybody that is interested. So there we have it. That's pretty good work today. I'm pleased with how well the metallic paints on the wings tie in with the rest of the image. I didn't want them to stick out like a sore thumb, but the minute I start waggling that page about, it's like, oh well, hello there, yes, thank you very much, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. The horns just having a wee shimmer to themselves there as well. So yeah, really, really glad and pleased with how that has turned out. That is it for today, guys. I want to thank you very much for watching. Thanks for coming and hanging out. I really appreciate it. I will see you back in the cave on Sunday. Sunday's video is well worth a watch, so I hope to see some of you then. And then when we come back for more colouring next week, we are going to focus on this unicorn here. So it will be a mixture of pencil and painting next week. So that's it. Have a great day, everyone. And bye-bye for now.